Radio 1140.
Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbranson, on CBS Sports Radio 1140 AM.
Welcome back, everybody. Silver and Black Today, the companion to silverandblacktoday.com. If you haven't visited the website, make sure you do. Constant content there, including a story we ran this week, which is really fascinating, about Carla's favorite player, Derek Carr. Now, our senior NFL analyst, Chris Reed, did the story, and I invite you to head over to the website. It's right there on the front page, top of the page when you see it. He did a story on Derek Carr. He went through every single pass the last 2 years and looked at what it did. And then we created some graphics to show points of the field, if it was in motion, if it was play action, if it was first down, under pressure, first read. I mean, he just broke this stuff down because he's amazing at it, and thank goodness. Chris is the kind of guy that I would have been next to in high school, like trying to copy math. Like, that's the guy. He's the guy. He's brilliant at this stuff.
Yeah, he really breaks it down. Every piece he's done, all the tweets he sends out where he breaks down film, it's fun to watch, and it's great to see it from that analytical standpoint because most fans don't quite understand the nuances of the game. There's a lot more to it than just guys going out there and smashing each other. Yeah, no, but he helps us understand it. So we're going to go out on the phone line now to talk to Chris Reed, our senior NFL analyst. Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. If you were copying off me in high school, you'd still be in high school.
Oh, that's true. But hey, man, no, I appreciate it. But listen, so you went through, and I remember when we first kind of talked and communicated about you doing this piece, I was like, wow, that's going to take a while. And it did. But you went through and you really looked at, and what I love about the piece you wrote on silverandblacktoday.com too is the fact that you kind of explained to folks up front how you examined all these passes. So tell people just real quickly what you looked at to get to these numbers and to take away some of the results you had.
The pre-snap stuff, motion, if there was play action, where in the progression Carr threw the pass, was it the first wide receiver he was reading, and then really breaking down what section of the field the throws were to, and then the accuracy of the throws.
Yeah, and that's what's fascinating to me, too, because if you look at all of that, I mean, I don't even think about some of these things. I mean, we cover the Raiders, we cover football, but all of the things like frame and reach, I mean, you have to read the story to see. But, Chris, let's get to real quickly in the time we have to talk about, you looked at 16 and 17. When you looked at the totality of what happened in 16 versus 17, what was your big takeaway?
The biggest thing is pressure. Carr, his QB rating drops from 100 to 40 when he's under pressure.
Wow.
And even though he had 45 less pass attempts last season, he was under pressure for 33 more of them, which comes out to really being like a whole game worth of being under pressure. The percent of plays jumped from 26% to 34, and that's certainly why Gruden went out and got a couple of tackles in the draft.
My biggest takeaway reading that piece and just going back to the season and the way it unfolded was just how vanilla that offense was last year under Downing. It just you talk about the lack of motion pre-snap and the availability of reads in certain formations, and it's just an extremely vanilla style offense, and I think that plays into the reason that Carr was under such pressure. I don't know that it was so much an offensive line playing worse versus being so predictable or being in situations where you're absolutely going to have to pass the ball. You're in so many third and longs that defenses can kind of pin their ears back and get after you.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, their game plan, it seemed like if they ran into any problems, they would just stick a receiver to Carr's left and say, go beat your guy. It did seem like they had a lot of issues, more making adjustments than like the initial game plan. But it's like if it didn't work, they were in trouble.
Yeah, and to me too, I mean the stark differences between 16 and 17. You talk about the pressure, but you also, I mean, yes, and you're clear when you say, look, he had an injury in 17 as well. But, I mean, when you look at the numbers, Chris, I think some of them really just show how everything sort of played against him reaching what was his full potential that I think we saw in 16. The things you guys mentioned about the offense under Downing, about his injury. But when you look at the totality of it all, what makes you think, because I know you say in the piece that you really think he's going to be closer to the player he was in 16 than 17. How much of that has to do with the new offense and the new coaching staff?
I mean, this is going to be the best offensive staff Carr's had. This is his first offensive head coach. And, I mean, the numbers weren't great, but there were certainly areas that you could point to and say it's a lot better. When his first read was available to him, his accuracy went up from, I think, like 72% up to 75%. His deep throw accuracy, even though he did have 60 less attempts over 10 yards, his accuracy went from like 70 or 47% up to like 54%. So there was still a lot of good things that happened. You could just tell that the offense as a whole just, wasn't getting it done, and it certainly affected his numbers.
All right. Well, Chris Reed, dude, thank you so much for everything you do. And you also had another piece up there on Arden Key, which is Matt's favorite guy.
My boy.
So make sure you
Can't
read
wait
it.
to watch that kid play.
Chris Reed, our senior NFL analyst. Chris, we'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Chris Reed, again, check it out, silverandblacktoday.com, where you can see this story, which is really fascinating, and check out the graphics, and you can see all the numbers. Amazing. Again,
Get
just
on the
cool
field,
stuff.
Man. I want to watch these guys
I
play
know,
already.
I know.
Ready for the
Carr,
season.
are you ready for the start of the season? You ready for football to start?
I am. I'm so ready. And going back to what he was saying, I think having stability in the coaching staff will be huge for Derek Carr. I also saw a little story that Rich Gannon did on Raiders.com about the fact that he's forming a really good bond with Chucky. I'll just call him Chucky. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. And so I think him and Gruden having that bond will be important too. So, yes, to answer your question, anxious for it to start.
And I think the best players, too, to your point about stability, it's also discipline. You mentioned that earlier. I think that players like Carr, they like the structure. They like people to push them to be their best. And to me, that is a big deal. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens. Well,
Almost there.
We're almost there. 11 days, folks, until the training camp starts up in Napa. And the football season is underway in earnest. That's going to close out our show, guys. The 2 hours went by quick.
It did.
Does.
I think. I mean, it's like Carla came in and the whole thing went much faster. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no. You're welcome anytime. And being a big Raider fan as you are, and we certainly appreciate you being here. Of course, we will be back this week on Tuesday, I believe, for our podcast, which is live on Spreaker. So check that out. This show will also be up in about an hour and a half online. So if you missed it or if you want to download it, you can do so. Check out silverandblacktoday.com, our website. Follow us on Twitter, silverblack, 2, and then day. But that's going to wrap it up for us. We are done. Make sure you check in next week, every Sunday from 8 to 10. We sign off, but we never say goodbye, Raider Nation. Thanks for listening. And until next week, may the autumn wind always be at your back. See you later.